are we here this morning? Come on, y'all talk to me.
Celebrate the resurrection.
We are indeed.
Because it's Sunday and I'm here every Sunday.
Okay, and I like
It's
it.
official.
Hey, that's fine.
It's
What?
official. We don't know.
Hey, that is okay. Hey, in class, here's what I heard about. So much has happened and time has gone by, and hey, there's things that you do. Hey, but why are these things happening? Why do we do what we do? As I sat back and I heard everybody say what they said, I could only think of one thing, and that one thing being what? Love. At the core of all of these things, had it not have been for love, what would our world be like if not for love? So here's where I am going next. John 3:16. Everybody knows what it says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him, they will not what? Perish. They will not perish. I'm going to hang on that word love. What does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? As I heard Cheryl sing that song, and Cheryl just stirs me up when she sings, he was there and he hung on the cross, and here's all of these angels. All he had to do was call. Come get me. Send these angels. And I'm happy that wasn't me, because you guys know me. All of these folks are saying, hey, these things, let's show them, guys. Send them, Lord, send them. But I'm happy he didn't. But here's where I'm going with love, and I enjoyed what you sent me. Why did Christ stay on the cross as what you sent? He thought about us. He stayed on the cross and hung there for us. Now I'm going to charge everyone here this morning with this. At some point in our lives, somebody did what? Made a sacrifice for us. That's why we're here. As I look at the back and see all of my sisters back there, and I see my brother, and you guys have heard me tell this story. Of all of these kids, I'm the only one that stuttered. But I'm up here. Now, why is that? Here's where I'm going with that. Sometimes things are going to happen that we're not going to understand. Why he does what he does is above our understanding. But here's where I'm going. Find what it is you are here to do. And then use that to show somebody the love of Christ. Why do I say that? Why is that so important? In the times that we now live in, and I'm going somewhere, it has always been of the utmost importance. But here's what I think of my grandmom, who is long since gone. She talked a lot. She did. Don't do this, baby. Don't do that, girl. Do this, do this. She talked to me all the time, but she didn't just talk to me. I think about why those things stuck. I think about why it's still there. I think about that. What made it stick? Why is it still there? Her actions. See, had he have just said, I love you guys, I'd do anything for you, but that's not what he did. He hung on the cross and died. It's time for we as the church to what? He's been gone for a long time, but he left us what? Hey, the Holy Spirit, right? It's where? It dwells in each one of us. Here's what is happening out here in the world. He who has an ear, let him hear, is what it says in Mark 4:23. How will he hear? He's going to hear from who? Us. Hey, the world has to hear from us, but some of them are like me. They're just a little hard-headed. Hey, they enjoy having fun. Me and Larry would get down there. Michael would run and play, and we would say, don't do that. Can't do that. I'm going to spank you. Still, we would do it. Here's where I'm going. If it's just words, what does that mean? What does that mean if someone is saying something just over and over and over and over? After a time, here's what folks think and feel. What? It's just words, right? It's just words. But he did what? He hung on the cross and died for our sins. Here's where I'm going, and I won't hold you guys along. Here's what I want you to understand. Her class, as I said back there, and I can't, Robert. I wrote that. I have some things, but I don't know where those things are. They're gone. But here's my point. Here's where I'm going. It need not be planned. It shouldn't be planned. If we act from our heart, then what is there? It is what? It is sincere. It is out of love. If we act out of love, then what's going to happen? Folks' lives will be impacted and changed. Here's what I want you to understand. Here's what I want to stress. As he hung on the cross and said, it's done, it's complete, it's finished. He has fixed it so that everyone can and will get there. If what? If they believe. But how will they believe if they don't hear? We are in a time in which we can't just talk. We can't just preach. Our actions have to back up the things that we say. Now I'm going to stress again, and I'm going to close because I'm about to get stirred up because there's folks here and I want to holler and scream, but I'm not this morning. Because here's why I'm not going to holler and scream. Our actions should be hollering and screaming. Hey, the world is loud. Hey, there's construction. So much construction. So many people are hollering and screaming. We as the church has been drowned out. Why? Because of our actions. They've gotten quiet. And I'm going to close, guys. I like to pick on Kyle. I heard someone say how he hugs. It's okay, Kyle. He's in the back. I was that same way for a time. But I'm going to say this. If we hug like this, and if we're shy, and if we do not display love, then what happens? What happens? I've heard some folks say, Daryl used to hug us like that. What does that make, the world feel? To believe he doesn't want to be around me. He doesn't want anything to do with me. He's fake, right? He hung on the cross. He died for our sins. He did all he could do, right? He didn't just, he stayed there. He stayed there. Here's where I'm going, guys. Here's where I'm going. Why do I know actions impact and it will change people's lives? That's why I'm here. It's the only reason I'm up here. If she didn't cook, if she didn't spank, if she didn't talk, if she didn't harp, if she wasn't there, if she didn't constantly stay on me, I wouldn't be here. Her actions. We now live in a time, the church being us. We were made for just such a time as this is our time. I hear folks saying, why are all of these things happening? If he has allowed it to happen, there's a purpose to it. If we step up, then what is going to happen in times as such? What's going to happen? Let me say this. When times get hard, why is this? When times are hardest, what happens? The world, does what? They turn to him. They turn to him. Why? Because it is there that he has what? Their attention. Their attention. Now I'm going to close it with this. And guys, I like to close. I will. I'll go over it and over and over. And I'm going to close. But here's why I don't like to close. Because there is a time that will come. Everyone's life will come to a close. Once that happens, if they don't know him, it's done. It's over. It's over. It's complete. There's no going back. But while we're still here, as I heard her say, she's ready to go. And she is. I watched. Let's say this over and over and over. She's ready to go. But somebody else is not. That's why you are still here. Somebody looks up to you. Somebody is seeing what you're doing or what you're not doing. Somebody sees you. And that's why you're still here. After we have been saved, we are to display for all the world to see the love of Christ. Her class, I think about that class that Pansy had. What is, the Lord He's love, right? He's love. He's love. He stayed there because of you and me. And he stayed there before we were saved, when we were in sin. He did that for us. 10,000 angels. My grandmother, I think of her. I'm going to say this and I'm going to get down. I think of those sacrifices that she made. I'm going to fix it so it won't be as hard for him. I'm going to fix it so he can get there. I'm going to fix it so he'll do it. And he will if I'll just do this. But here's what has happened with so many of us. And I'm going somewhere and I have to get there. We have made it about us. I need to get there. It needs to be about me. She made it about me. Somebody else. She loved me. The Lord, he made it about who? Us. So I'm going to close and I'm going to let him speak because I know it's hard behind me because there's sometimes I'll get started and he doesn't get to speak and I won't shut up. But I'm going to say this. Be that way in someone's life. Find somebody and not shut up. Insist they hear you and not just insist. Don't just scream and shout. You let your actions show in a way in such that their lives is impacted and changed. Is that simple? Is that simple? But you be heard. And why do we need to be heard? Our story should be his story, right? The love of Christ. And how do they feel that? How is that seen? Through our actions. So let's act. Okay.
Welcome to each one of you. You're probably going to figure out in just a few moments that I'm not prepared as I ought to be. But we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to read from several different places in the Bible because I want to talk about the resurrection. And while it's spoken of in all four Gospels, there's differences. They complement one another. There's some information left out in each one. And I'm probably going to mess up on trying to cover all of it, but we'll see. First, I'm going to be Matthew chapter 28 and the first verse. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. In Mark chapter 16, the first verse, when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome had brought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. Then in John chapter 20, the first day of the week comes Mary Magdalene early, when it is yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and sees the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Luke chapter 24, now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came into the sepulchre, bringing spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them. So we know from the different scriptures some of the people's names. Mary Magdalene is named, I think, 3 times there. Luke doesn't name anybody. They came. They refers to the women who had been following Christ for years, doing what they could to assist. These women had maybe lost their faith because their faith had been that Christ was going to establish his kingdom now. these women had not lost their love. They still had a great love for Jesus. And they wanted to do one last thing for him, to anoint his body there in the grave. Well, after his death on the cross, they had watched him be wrapped in place in this tomb. They knew he was there. In Mark, back in the 16th chapter, the 2nd and 3rd verse, I believe, very early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came to the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. They said among themselves, "Who shall roll away us the stone from the door of the sepulchre?" This might not seem like a great thing unless you understand. This stone was set in a V-shaped groove so that it rolled down in front of the sepulchre door easily. But scholars tell me that this stone weighed enough that it would have taken several men to roll back up that grove, that slanted. One pastor that I heard talking this weekend said that the stone quite possibly weighed 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. So it wasn't going to be something easily moved. It wasn't something these women thought they could do for themselves. Get to the right spot in a moment.
I switched from YouTube TV to Philo, and it's saving me $600 a year. That's a round-trip flight for my next getaway for just $28 a month.
In Matthew chapter 28 again, the 2nd verse says, "And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat upon it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow." So an angel had answered, who's going to roll away the stone? Remind you, that angel didn't roll that stone away so Jesus could get out. He was already gone. But the angel rolled the stone away so that the ladies could see that Jesus was gone. And just it said, and I didn't cover Friday night, there were the chief priests were worried that Jesus' body would be stolen away. So they had asked for a guard. And there were a group of men there to guard it so that nobody could come and steal away the body of Jesus. But when these keepers, these men saw this angel, and for fear of him, the keepers did shake and became as dead men. They were afraid. Maybe if God sends an angel to stand by me, I'll get afraid too. Maybe I should be afraid. It's not something we see every day, so I can see it being frightening. The angel answered and said to the women, "Fear not you, for I know that you seek Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. As he said, come, see the place where the Lord lay. Sometime before daybreak, probably, Jesus had already left the tomb. He had resurrected himself. We talked about Friday night about his crucifixion, where he died to pay the debt for my sin. But did that make us okay? Not at all. Because if he didn't come back to life, if he couldn't resurrect himself as he said he would, then it was all false. Without the resurrection, Christianity was dead on arrival. Without the resurrection, his death would not have meant anything except he had sacrificed himself. And in Luke chapter 24, verse 3, it says, they entered in and found not the body of Jesus. But what did they find? This tomb was not quite empty, although we call it the empty tomb. The grave clothes were still there. He had no need for the grave clothes anymore. And one of the Gospels says that the napkin that covered his face was separate by itself and folded. And in their culture, that meant something. Because when you dined at someone else's house, if you had to get up and leave the table but you weren't through eating, you left your napkin here, not folded. When you were through, you folded your napkin and laid it aside. Then those serving the table knew you were through. It's finished. It's done. From the cross, Christ said, it is finished. This was another sign. It's through. It's over. I have completed the work my Father gave me. But the women still were perplexed. They still didn't understand. This says in the 5th verse, and they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth and said, why seek you the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spoke to you when he was yet in Galilee, saying the Son of Man must be delivered to the hands of sinful men, be crucified, and the 3rd day rise again. Then they remembered these words. They returned from the sepulchre and told these things unto the 11 and to the others. Verse 11, and their words seemed as idle tales, and they believed them not. Then rose Peter and ran to the sepulchre, and stooping down, he beheld the linen cloths laid by themselves, and he departed. And this Matthew that I'm looking for. No, I'm looking for John, I'm sorry. Then came Simon Peter following him. No, excuse me, I need to go back to the 4th verse. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter, and came first to the sepulchre. John, in his writing, did not name himself. He called him, the other disciple here, he called himself the disciple that Jesus loved in other places. Was that a little arrogant? Because Jesus loved everybody. But somehow there was a special bond between Jesus and John. They both ran together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter and came first to the sepulchre. And he stooped down, looked in, and saw the linen clothes lying, yet he went not in. Then comes Simon Peter following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seized the linen cloths lying. John got there first, but he's still a little afraid, I guess, because he didn't go on in. Peter's going to charge in on whatever, like when he pulled his sword and cut off the servant's ears, when Jesus had already told him that we wouldn't be fighting. Peter could be a little aggressive at times. Then Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene, showed her he was alive, told her to go and tell the others. Jesus appeared to the two men on the road to Emmaus, and they didn't know him. And these were two of his disciples. They're not named, but there's two of his disciples. Because when he broke bread and blessed it, they recognized him then. They knew. He appeared over the next 40 days after his resurrection a few more times. And then he ascended to the Father, and he sits on the throne. From that day till now, on into the future. As Darrell said, I'm so thankful that he completed that task. Because as the song says, without him, how lost I would be. We come this morning also to observe the Lord's Supper. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, there are some instructions on how we should observe the Lord's Supper. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you do show the Lord's death till he come. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord. Let a person examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. It's the word said unworthily. It does not say unworthy, because I am not worthy. It means the manner in which we take the Lord's Supper. It means that when we take the Lord's Supper, only Jesus and what he did should be on our mind. It means that if we come to take the Lord's Supper and we're worried about the Super Bowl that happens to be the same Sunday, we're doing it wrong. We come to take the Lord's Supper and concerned about anything except Jesus Christ and what He did for us. We do it wrong. So I ask each of you to just take one moment to have your mind in order, that you will be considering Jesus and what He did for us. The fact that He did not die for my sin, I would be condemned to hell. If I don't accept the gift He offered me, I'm condemned to hell. But He makes it so easy that a child can do it. Just have to believe what Jesus has already took care of. Daryl and Robert, would y'all serve the table? Go ahead and serve the food. In our church, we do not restrict anyone from taking the Lord's Supper. If you feel like you can do it in the right manner, it's between you and God. It's not me. I will not judge any person. I will not restrict anyone from taking the Lord's Supper that feels like that's what they should do. I have been in churches where they said only members could observe the Lord's Supper. And I prayed a lot about it and I couldn't find that. I've got a dear friend that's pastor of a church now that restricts the Lord's Supper to members only. And he's a good friend of mine. We just disagree on this one thing.